Recently I was contacted by a YouTube viewer who asked me, because she saw my video on the #1 narcissist repellent tool, and she asked me if I could do a video about my #1 tool when it came to recovering from codependency. I said, sure, why not? And I didn't have to think long to come up with the #1 tool that I'd like to offer you guys that'll help you heal from codependency faster than you ever imagined. Now, let's understand that in most cases, relationships, if you're a codependent, you've attracted somebody on the narcissistic spectrum. Doesn't mean it's a full-blown NPD, but somebody who has high narcissistic traits, right? It's a very complex issue to have because it goes back to childhood programming. We have to understand this idea that the mind is dualistic, that we're both conscious and unconscious at the same time. Yes, self-love is an issue, a lack of self-love, and yes, shame is an issue, and yes, boundaries are an issue with people with codependency. But if you're looking for a tool, if you're looking for something to help you absolutely heal in the 3D world, then my #1 tool is this. Stop seeking external validation. Sounds simple enough, right? But try to do it. It ain't so easy because most of us, we don't even realize that we're walking around looking for validation. We want our husbands to agree with us. We want our wives to agree with us. We want our children to agree with us. We want our mother-in-law to agree with us. We want the grocery guy to agree with us. We want the doctor to agree with us, right? When we're sad, we want everybody to agree with us, right? When we're upset, we want everybody to agree with us. When we go to work, we're seeking validation. We don't always realize that we're seeking validation, and maybe you're one of those lucky people that is in their own skin and focused on the self and has really strong boundaries and isn't seeking the validation of other people to feel good about themselves. And if you are, that is freaking awesome. But I have found that myself and most people I know have struggled with feeling invisible. And so when we're codependent upon this other thing outside of us to make us feel seen. So you can be codependent on a label. Like I have to wear, a certain designer in order to feel good about myself, or I have to make a certain amount of money to feel good about myself, or I have to weigh a certain amount of weight to feel good about myself, or I have to be in a relationship to feel good about myself. So I think we have to broaden the umbrella when we think about codependency, and we have to consider, through self-awareness and through the raising of our consciousness, because you cannot heal unless you are conscious. You cannot heal unless you blow a hole open in your consciousness, right? Because people who are codependent and even narcissists live below the veil of consciousness. They're acting out familial patterns, behavioral patterns. The default mode network in the brain is activated, so we're on autopilot. If I grew up feeling invisible as a child, I feel invisible to myself. My mirror neurons to myself have not been turned on. And so, but within me is this deep need to connect to other people. And I have learned to fawn. I have learned to people please. I've learned to acquiesce and to bob my head up and down. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh sure. Mm-hmm. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. I don't know how to set a boundary if I don't have a healthy sense of self. But I don't have a healthy sense of self if I never had parents who encouraged me to have a self, right? In order for you to have a healthy sense of self, you needed your mother and your father to look into your beautiful eyes and say, I see you, and you are so fabulous, and you are perfect just the way you are. What would you like to do today? How do you feel? What went on in school? You would have to have been infused with this idea that what was going on inside of you, right? Because children associate the self with their emotions. And so when children express an emotion and that emotion is ignored, children are learning through repetition, observation, and consistency to either value or devalue their emotional self, thus the self. So it's really hard to have self-esteem. And I always get kind of like perturbed when I hear somebody say, oh, you have to work on your self-esteem. That's like saying, go work on your Maserati and you don't have a Maserati. Like, how do you work on your self-esteem if you don't have a self, right? Oh, anyway, we got to start somewhere, dear ones, okay? And understanding that coming from an alcoholic home, if you are the adult child of an alcoholic, you have ACOA stuff that's not your fault. There's a laundry list for adult children of alcoholics that we have to deal with Okay, if your parents were narcissistic and you grew up feeling unseen, if there was triangulation in your home, if there were smear campaigns throughout your family, narcissistic families are like that. It's like Piranhaville. Like, you're not safe, right? And everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid. So Aunt Jenny's believing what your mother says, and Uncle so-and-so is believing what your father says. And, it becomes this mob mentality. And if you grew up that way, it must be very difficult for you to feel like it's safe, right? And you might have some codependent symptoms. You might be seeking validation. You might be toning yourself down. You might be codependent on this idea that you need something outside of you to give you value. And so what I wanted to share with you in this short, quick video is my #1 tool for healing from codependency. And it's an active tool. So it's a conscious tool. It's a self-awareness tool. And what you do is you ask yourself all day, every day, am I doing that because I'm seeking validation, or am I showing up more authentically? Was that a codependent thought or a non-codependent thought? Am I rushing around the house to clean before my husband gets home because I enjoy a clean home? Or is it because I want him to see how hard I work because I need his validation, right? Am I taking my children to school, at 18 years old, driving across town when they could just as easily get on a bus? Even though I have to be at work and I'm struggling to get to work on time? Am I doing it because I want to, or am I doing it because I'm seeking my children's approval? I'm afraid that they're not going to talk to me. I'm afraid they're going to be angry at me. I'm afraid people might talk about me, say I'm a bad mom. Am I doing the things that I'm doing for those reasons, which all go back to seeking validation, right? Am I being kind to people because I genuinely want to? Or am I secretly angry? Do I secretly can't stand everybody? Do I secretly want everyone to leave me the hell alone, right? Because I don't know how to say no. Because on some level, I'm seeking validation. So I would say that in order to heal from codependency, that is the one thing, the one mental tool, one mental exercise that you have to work on every single day. And I can tell you, it definitely helped liberate me. There are a ton more tools that you can work with. As a matter of fact, you can, if you're thinking about healing from codependency, you can check out my book, Codependent Now What? It's Not You, It's Your Programming, because I have a bunch of actual exercises that you can dig into that'll help you heal from codependency. So, no more seeking external validation. Seek your own validation on this path through life, dear one. That is the way to true happiness. Namaste, as I bow to the love and light that is absolutely in you. Bye for now. Until next time.